And we are live. Welcome back with Murphy Mac to another episode of the Fitness Beginner Podcast, where we help you get started on your fitness journey. What is up, everybody? Hope y'all are having a great week so far. I will apologize. I am a day late recording the podcast. I had some technical difficulties last night, and my software just wouldn't work for some reason. I don't know what was wrong with it. I guess the software was down. So we back here tonight and we're recording it. Today's podcast topic is going to be about something that goes a little bit beyond the gym, beyond fitness. It's going to go a little bit, it's going to be something a little bit different than what we normally do, but it's all going to relate back to fitness. We're going to bring it back into fitness. We're going to break it down how fitness kind of fits into all of it. So what we're going to talk about today, well, before I say what we're going to talk about today, there's three main areas to work towards in your life. And you've probably heard me talk about them before on the podcast. And those three areas are health, wealth, and relationships. Those are kind of like the three key areas in life that you're always trying to work on, improve, things like that. Well, today we're going to dive deeper into one of those key areas, which is relationships, and kind of how I see relationships, how I use them. Y'all gonna see. So what we're gonna talk about more specifically is what I call the relationship hierarchy. So before we get into it, this is my relationship hierarchy. This is my opinion. I will say a lot of you probably will not agree with me on what I'm about to say, but hear me out. I'm gonna give y'all my explanation, my reasoning, and why I believe this, and why this is kind of how I use the relationship hierarchy in my life to help with me. And you can use these same ones and kind of switch it up and make it more specific to your life. And you may have other ones you want to change, you want to put in there, or you may want to take some out. That's up to you. But you can use something very similar to this in your life as well. This is just mine. I have five relationship five relationships to this hierarchy, and then there's also a bonus one that I'm going to throw in there as well. So really I have 6 total. And then we're going to talk about how fitness kind of fits into all of these relationships and how it fits into your life. So let's go ahead and hop right into it. And first, we're going to talk about what is a relationship hierarchy. So for me, it's going to be specific to you, but I think this one pretty much fits in for most people. Most people should be able to go by this one. This is one that I specifically believe in and I use for myself. And it goes in this order. So number 1, God. Number 2, spouse. Number 3, kids. Number 4, family. Number 5, friends. So this is the level at which you should focus on, the importance. God's most important, spouse second most important, kids third, family fourth, friends fifth. And now y'all see why I say it's kind of controversial, because there's some in there you may not agree with. You may put them in different areas in your life, and that's cool. This is mine, and I'm just going to explain why I think it's important and why it relates. But I mentioned there's a bonus one. So the bonus one I'm going to throw in there is self. So self is the relationship that you have with yourself. And I think this is an important one to throw in there. And I'm going to throw it on the same level as spouse. So I'm going to put it at number 2. So you have God, you have spouse and self on the same level. Then you have kids, and you have family, then you have friends. And that's my relationship hierarchy. And we're going to go into each one of these more specifically and why they are where they at in that hierarchy. So this is just think of this as a framework. It's kind of a blueprint for how I try to live, every day, or how you can live every day. It helps me kind of stay grounded in what really matters, what to focus on. These are priorities. This is the priority that I focus on these in my life. So it kind of helps better with, priorities, alignment, energy, things like that. So that's kind of that's the hierarchy that, I go by. And the most, we'll get into that here. So why this specific order? So God comes first. I don't really think I really have to explain myself on this one. I mean, if you're religious, if you're a Christian, you definitely understand this one. I think God should come first, point blank, period. Without God, I mean, you pretty much have nothing at this point. Everything comes from that relationship that you have with God. It's kind of like it's your spiritual foundation. It's your source of, purpose, peace, power. Anything you need. Without him in your life, everything's going to be unstable. So I think he should be first. He should come before everybody else. He should come before your spouse. He should come before your kids, before yourself, and he's number one. I don't think I really have to argue about that one. The next one, number two, is where I think some people kind of disagree with me. I don't know. Some people, I don't have kids, so I put kids as number three. I think spouse comes second. And even if you do have kids, I think your spouse should come before your kids. I just do. I just think you need to show up for your spouse before you show up for your kids. And I'll explain that. So like the relationship with your spouse, it's sacred. Like that's your spouse. Y'all chose to be with each other. Your family, you didn't choose your family. Like you're born into your family. You didn't have a choice. Your family love you because they're your family. They didn't choose to love you. They just love you because they're your family. Or hopefully they do. I know some people don't have good relationships with their family. That's a whole nother story. But yes, your families, they didn't choose you. Your kids, they didn't choose you. You had your kids. They didn't choose you as their parents. The only person that actually chose you is your spouse. So if you're married, it takes time, it takes effort, it takes attention. And when that connection is strong, it creates kind of a ripple effect of stability and love for the rest of your family. So if you and your spouse's relationship is good, if y'all have a good relationship, that's going to roll over into your relationship with your kids. If your kids see you and your spouse, doing the right things in love, being all, what's it called? Lovey-dovey on each other. That's going to be a good household for your kids to grow up in. They're going to know what it's like to, have family, have parents that love each other and things like that. So I think your relationship with your spouse should become first, especially because at the end of the day, the only person that's going to be there is your spouse. Like your family is going to grow old and they're probably going to, I don't want to say this, but like your family's older. They're going to pass away before you more than likely. So they're going to be gone one day. Your kids, they're going to grow up. They're going to move out of the house. They're going to be gone one day. And guess what? You're going to be left with your spouse. So you need to have your relationship with your spouse down pat. That should be the most important relationship outside of God, in my opinion. And then I said I was going to throw in self here. Actually, we'll come back to self at the end. Next, the third hierarchy is kids. So your kids should come next, and they should come before the rest of your family, 100%. So as a role, as your parents, your role is to guide, protect, nurture, do all the things that parents do. But if you're pouring so much into them without keeping your marriage strong, you're going to create an imbalance. So that's why your kids come after your spouse. You know what I'm saying? You need to have a strong family. Families need to stay together. You don't need to put your kids first. That's going to create, that disconnect there. It's going to create problems. So get your relationship right with your spouse first, then get your relationship right with your kids. And I know people will probably disagree here because I know everybody always thinks kids come first. Like you'll do anything for your kid, and that's great. I think you should. I think you should sacrifice things for your kid. I really do. And you should do everything you can to take care of your kids and give them the best life possible. 100% I agree. But I think you should be doing that with your spouse first. Like get you right. Do everything you have to do with your spouse to get your relationship with them and your marriage right before you do that with your kids. Because if not, then your marriage probably isn't going to last. You know what I'm saying? So you got to get right with your spouse, then get right with your kids. It all kind of has an effect on each other. So then the next relationship would be your family, of course, like your extended family. Your parents, your brothers, sisters, cousins, aunts, uncles. They come next after your immediate family, your spouse and your kids. After them. So this is important to me because I'm very close with my family. My family is very close. We spend a lot of time with each other. We do all holidays together. We like to hang out with each other. We spend, just normal weekends with each other. We all live very close, so we spend a lot of time as a family, and I think that's very important. But my immediate family, my wife and my future kids, will come before them, and that's just how it works. And then, of course, and then after that, friends. So friends obviously come in at the end, I think that's a very important relationship. I don't think you should put your friends off. I think you should still work on your relationships with your friends. Your friends are great to have around. They matter. But they shouldn't pull you away like from your family. They shouldn't pull you away from your core responsibilities, which is your spouse and your kids and your relationship with God, of course. So, you have limited time. So it's important to use this hierarchy because you have limited time, you have limited energy, and you need to focus on certain areas first. So focus on God first, then focus on your spouse, then focus on your kids. And then I said I was going to throw in self in there. So self, I think, should be equivalent with your spouse. And I think it should be up there because if you're not showing up for yourself, how are you going to show up for anybody else? Like, really? Like, yeah, you may be able to show up for your kid and take care of your kid and give them all the necessities that they need to live. But if you're not showing up for yourself, then you're not pouring everything into your kid that you could. You're not. You may be giving them everything they need to live, which may be, 80%. You may be giving them 80%. That's everything. They have a roof over their head, food on their plate, and they go to school, whatever. They have everything they need. They have clothes on their body. That may be 80%, but if you ain't showing up for yourself, you can't give them that other 20%. Like, you're not going to be able to pour into them, parent them the way they should be, teach them the things they need to teach because you got other things going on. You know what I'm saying? You got to get yourself right. You got to focus on yourself. And I told you I was going to pull this all back into fitness somehow. Well, fitness fits into that step, into self. By working on yourself, you need to be working on your fitness, on your health. Because if you ain't healthy, you ain't going to be around very long. You ain't going to be around to take care of your kids, pour into your kids. So I think it's important to take care of your body, take care of your mental health, take care of your physical health. You need to do these things first. And I think that should be on the same level as your spouse. You should be taking care of yourself just like you're taking care of your spouse. And yeah, that's what I believe. I think you should be showing up for yourself first. Because once you show up for yourself, you can take all that, positive energy, positive things that's coming out of that and pour it into, your kids, into your family, into your friends. It all has a trickle effect. If you're not happy, your kids are going to know you ain't happy. If you and your spouse having problems, y'all arguing and stuff, your kids are going to know that. Like, they're not dumb. Kids are smart. So once you work on yourself, once you work with your spouse, it all kind of helps everything. It helps the family out, helps the household out. And it's important to do it that way. I think it should be done in that order. I know some people might think that putting self on the same level as spouse is selfish. And I completely disagree with that. I disagree with it being selfish. Taking care of yourself, it's not a luxury, it's a responsibility to take care of yourself. You can't pour from an empty cup. I love that saying. You can't pour from an empty cup. If you're not taking care of yourself, then you're going to have an empty cup, period. So when I say self, I'm talking about your mental health, your emotional health, physical health, spiritual health, everything that goes in that. So you owe it to not only yourself, but you owe it to your spouse, you owe it to your kids, family, and friends, to show up as your best self. Point blank, period. So that's how fitness comes into this relationship hierarchy. I think fitness honestly is just like the foundation for health in general. So that's why I believe you should participate in fitness. So think about like when you're working out consistently, you're eating well, you're getting good sleep, you're managing stress. When you do all these things, you're going to show up with more energy. You're going to have a better mood. You're going to have increased patience, especially when it comes to your kids. You're going to have sharper focus. You're going to be more disciplined, have stronger discipline. So all that helps. It helps you love your spouse better. It helps you, parent your kids with more patience. It helps you, support your friends, serve God with strength. It helps you build resilience when life throws challenges your way, when you're practicing, working on yourself. But when you neglect yourself, when you skip those workouts, when you eat junk food all day, when you ignore your mental health, doing all these things, when you're not doing these things that make you feel strong, you start running on fumes. You start pouring from an empty cup. And that's when burnout creeps in. That's when resentment shows up. That's when, your relationships suffer. Every relationship, not just your one with your spouse or the one with yourself. Your relationship with God's going to start suffering. Your relationship with your kids is going to start suffering. Family, friends, etc. So I want to say this clearly so y'all can hear me. I'm going to say it twice for y'all. Taking care of yourself is one of the most selfless things that you can do. I know that sounds counterintuitive, but I'll say it again. Taking care of yourself is one of the most selfless things that you can do. And that's what I believe. So we're gonna hop into how do you live this relationship? We'll just give you a few examples to just kind of give you an idea. How do you live this relationship hierarchy in your daily life? So a few simple practices are, number one, you're gonna start with God. So before you touch your phone in the morning, before you check your emails in the morning, take a few minutes, pray, meditate, reflect on previous day. This is when I like to do my devotion. I do my prayer in the morning. I do it first thing in the morning before I do anything else. And it kind of gets me right, at the beginning of the day, it gets me started. And that's what I enjoy doing. So number two, you got to make time for your spouse. That may be a 10-minute walk after you get home from after you get home from work, maybe doing something when the kids go to bed, going for a walk, go for a weekly date night. That's cool. You got to kind of protect that connection that y'all have. You got to make time. You got to schedule it and just do it. Because if not, especially if you have little kids, you'll put it off. You won't spend time with each other. You'll focus all that time on your kids. And that leads us to number three. You got to be present when you're with your kids. Be present. I know our schedules are tight. I know you got a lot to do. I know you got work to do, and you got things around the house to do. But just 15 minutes of intentional, undistracted time with your kids, it really goes a long way, and they will appreciate it. I promise. It goes. They will. Like I said, they'll appreciate it if you give them just 15 minutes. I know you probably give them more than that most of the time, but if you can't do, if you're very busy one day, you can always spare 15 minutes. Number four, when it comes to your family, when it comes to your friends, give them a call, shoot them a text. Try to stay connected with them. Life gets busy, but at the end of the day, people still matter. You don't want to lose those relationships that you built with people. I've had trouble with this myself. Like leaving school. When I left high school, I moved away for college. So I kind of quit talking to all my friends from high school. That kind of just happens after high school. Everybody moves away. That's cool. That's one thing. But I still try to keep up with those, relationships that I had as much as I can. Every time I see somebody, I try to talk to them. Then I went to school. I went to college. Now that I'm back home, I don't see those people I went to college with. None of them are from here. They were all from out of state, different parts of the state. So you don't see those people. So it's very easy to kind of lose contact with those people if you're not, making an effort to, reach out to them every now and then, give them a phone call, shoot them a text. And you can lose those relationships. So you got to make an effort. I know it's hard sometimes. We get busy, and other people don't really make an effort. So you feel like you don't have to either. But a phone works both ways. I'll be honest. I will tell you that straight up. A phone works both ways. So don't just think, if somebody wants to talk to me, they'll reach out to me. Like, no, it don't always work that way. Sometimes you got to be the person to reach out to them and talk to them first. So try to keep those relationships with extended family and your friends as well. And then number five, you got to take care of you. Got to take care of yourself. So block off your workouts, schedule them on your calendar. Do some meal prep if you have to. I love this. It's my favorite nutrition hack, meal prep. Journal, reflect on your day, go on a walk, set boundaries for yourself, set boundaries. Your health, it fuels your ability to serve everybody else. Like it sets you up to win in every other aspect of your life. So take care of yourself. That's another way you can live this, relationship hierarchy in your everyday life. So here's a challenge I'm going to leave with you today. Look at your schedule. Look at your habits, what you're doing on a daily basis. Do they reflect your relationship hierarchy? Because I want you to think about what would your hierarchy be? Like, what would your relationship hierarchy be? What's most important? Put the most important at top. What your priority is, the most important relationship to you, and then work your way down. And so how does your everyday habits, how does your everyday schedule reflect this relationship hierarchy? If it don't reflect it, then you may need to realign your priorities, realign your time to work on those relationships. Think of it this way. just because you put God first doesn't mean like everything else has to come last. You don't have to. It means that everything else kind of flows better. And it kind of has a flow state. It has a order that it goes in. So also think of taking care of yourself. It doesn't just say just because you're taking care of yourself doesn't mean that you're selfish. It just means that you're strategic about it. So when you're more effective in working on your relationships, working on your mission, when you have purpose, it kind of helps, your mind, your body, your spirit. All these things are going to be strong when all those are in alignment. So that's what fitness is really about, being, in alignment in all these areas. So fitness is not just, six-pack abs or hitting PRs in the gym, but it's also showing up strong for the people that you care about the most, people that you that matter to you, people that are important in your lifestyle, in your life. So that's my relationship hierarchy in a nutshell. So thank y'all for rocking with me today. If this episode hit home with you, share it with somebody you love. Share it with one of those people on your relationship hierarchy. And put one together. Like put one together for yourself. I had 6 in mind. You may add some, subtract some, whatever works for you in your life. But that's mine, and that's kind of how I go, what I believe in. So yeah, y'all take care of yourselves. Have a great week. Leave a review, leave a comment, whatever you got to do. Subscribe, appreciate it. YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen at. It goes a long way. Everything helps. So I appreciate it. Y'all have a great day. Until next week for another episode of the Fitness Weirdo Podcast. Peace, love, protein. We out.